Hello happy crocheters. Today in this video I'm going to tell you how to crochet the invisible slip stitch. So before I start, make sure you have a stitch marker because our slip stitch will be invisible and difficult to find the beginning of the round. So for that we need a stitch marker. Okay, so here you see I have just made 2 rounds of simple double crochet stitches. So now I'm going to join the round. So I'm not going to place a slip stitch as usually we do of slipping our hook into the very first stitch and pulling off a loop and go through the loop on the hook. Okay, so this is how we simply place a slip stitch, but we're not going to place this. We're going to place an invisible slip stitch. So to place the invisible slip stitch, just pull the loop on your hook a bit longer, as long as a crochet stitch is. So here I just pulled a bit little and take out your hook from that loop and skip the very first stitch here. So I'm going to place the invisible stitch into the second double crochet stitch. So here I skipped the very first double crochet stitch and slip my hook from behind my second double crochet stitch this way. Okay, and grab this loop back into the hook and pull through. Okay, so this way. Now take out your hook back out of this loop and go to your original position like this and slip your hook into this loop, and you can start placing your stitches back as usual. Okay, so here you see this stitch. I have to show you nicely, so just a minute. Okay, so here you see this loop. This stitch is formed because of the invisible stitch. Okay, invisible slip stitch. So as we skipped this very first double crochet stitch and placed our invisible slip stitch into the second stitch, so we need one extra stitch to make a even count in each row. So on behalf of this skip stitch, our invisible slip stitch creates another stitch here. Okay, so let's see what to do next. So this is completely an invisible slip stitch. So slip your hook back into the loop and grab your working yarn and chain 2. Okay, and place a double crochet stitch into the very first stitch or into the same stitch where we just placed the invisible slip stitch. And keep on placing a double crochet into each and every stitch all the way around till the end of this. So here I am in the end of this round, and you see this is the stitch formed because of the invisible slip stitch, and I'm going to place a double crochet into this stitch. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip this very first double crochet stitch, and as usual just we did in our previous round, so just pull the loop a bit longer, as long as a crochet stitch, and take out the hook from a loop, and then okay, make sure that your working yarn is always behind the hook this way. Okay, it should not be in the front this way, it should be behind your hook. And just keep this past double crochet stitch and slip your hook in from behind the second double crochet stitch this way and grab the loop. Okay, like this, like this. Okay, and now it's done. See, and this is the stitch that is created because of the invisible slip stitch that we just did. So what I'm going to do, I asked you for a stitch marker in case you miss the stitch or you get confused, then grab stitch marker and place it into the stitch like this so that you don't get confused. Okay, so this is the slip stitch. So get into your loop again and place a chain 2 and place a double crochet stitch into the very same stitch, and this stitch is always the skipped stitch for each and every row that you'll be making, right? So we have to always skip this very fast double crochet stitch and place our invisible slip stitch into this next stitch. Okay, so let me show you again. So keep on placing a double crochet stitch into each and every stitch till the end of this round. So this is the stitch that was created because of the invisible slip stitch. So you just can take out your stitch marker in here and place a double crochet stitch as usual. Pull the loop a bit longer, as long as a crochet stitch, and take out the hook from a loop. And then okay, make sure that your working yarn is always behind the hook this way. Okay, it should not be in the front this way, it should be behind your hook. And just keep this past double crochet stitch and slip your hook in from behind the second double crochet stitch this way and grab the loop. Okay, like this. So once you have placed your slip stitch, invisible slip stitch, so this is the stitch will be counted as a stitch, so you can always use your stitch marker here so that you don't get confused, and then get back normally like this. Okay, and chain 2, chain 1 and chain 2, and place a double crochet stitch as usual. We place into the very same stitch where we just placed our invisible slip stitch, and continue placing a double crochet into each and every stitches all the way down till the end. So once you have reached the end of this round, so you see this stitch here that is created due to the invisible stitch. So take out the stitch marker and place a double crochet stitch into this. Okay, and then repeat the same pattern of placing the invisible slip stitch, of skipping this very fast double crochet stitch here, like this and grab your working yarn and place chain 2 and work a double crochet stitch into this very same stitch that we just placed the invisible slip stitch. Okay, so you see here I have done some rows and we cannot just find the slip stitch part, right, because our slip stitch is completely invisible. So hope you love this tutorial of placing invisible slip stitch, because that's a work of concern for a lot of people, as we don't like the way the slip stitch looks. So hope you love this tutorial. See you in my next video. Till then, goodbye.